Hi, everyone. My name is Jeffrey. I am the head of college consulting at Janet. And today I am super excited to be interviewing Vikram. Vikram is across the world in India right now. And today he is going to be sharing with us his educational psychology project. So Vikram, how about we start? Could you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Of course. Hi, I'm Vikramaditya Padir and I've just completed high school. It's a bit crazy. I'm still trying to find my way outside those walls. I like playing football, not the American kind. I like playing soccer. I like listening to music and I like watching movies, especially the really old ones from the 60s or the 70s, like Godfather. I have an interest in educational psychology.
That's interesting, Vikram. Yeah, tell me a little bit more about what you've been doing with educational psychology and how did you come to develop your passion project?
Oh my god, this is one crazy story. Just before ninth grade started, I scored an internship at UNESCO. At this internship, one could easily speak and network with educational psychologists to really try to figure out the problems faced by the Indian education system and devise possible solutions to these problems. I know it sounds really boring, but it was actually pretty fun. The people were like so cool. There was this one teacher who'd been teaching for 35 years, I believe, and she was older than time itself. And she was absolutely hysterical. She was so funny. Anyway, sort of empowered by this internship, I wanted to solve actual problems in my community. On the first day of ninth grade, my class teacher told me, Bacha, 33 students have failed. You work hard. Note, out of 320 students, 33 were failing. Approximately 10%. This was huge. What did I do? I went straight to the counselor, folded up my sleeves, and said, Ma'am, I could assemble a group of students excelling in a subject, tutor them to each other, and then carry out one-to-one tutoring sessions. She said, Vikram, slow down. And then she said, yes. I was like, yes? She was, yeah, yes. So our first initiative came to be. We were faced with a ton of logistical problems in the first 6 weeks or so, but we overcame these to develop a passion project. At this point, let me tell you something about my school. All the failed students would rock their heads back and forth trying to memorize all the encyclopedias of textbooks in the library. But after we started our sessions in the library, the atmosphere completely transformed. We would break the silence in the library by our sessions, engaging in lively conversations, or just hitting each other on the head by wads of paper. We became a happy nuisance in our student community. Instead of being a ground zero for rote learning, the library produced a steady stream of student-generated ideas. And our batch graduated with the highest grade point average in school history. This was one of my proudest moments, I feel.
Oh, Vikram, that's absolutely amazing and incredible. Yeah, so one thing I'm really curious about is while you're running this COVID-19 was happening and the pandemic was raging across the world. So what was your relationship with the pandemic? Like, did the pandemic elevate your game?
The pandemic was just starting to gain massive proportions when I finished my 10th grade exams. Quarantines, isolations, people absolutely freaking out. But I wanted to keep up with this initiative. Online, of course, even I was not that crazy. My friends were like, are you nuts? And I was like, yeah, I thought we'd established that. Anyways, so there was no proper coordination and no real tech support. In a couple of weeks, our initiative crashed. This was a big hit for me. My friends were a principal source of motivation for me. I'm an individual who engages in procrastinating like a lot. I was like, "Arey kar lenge, arey dekh lenge. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it." And they'd say, "No, cross that bloody bridge now." Without my people, I was a nobody. In this despair, I contacted my counselor again and told her about my situation. And she said, "Why don't you start a new initiative then?" And that is what I did. I contacted an educational psychologist I had met back at UNESCO, told her I wanted to study concepts of educational psychology and pedagogy teaching. We did a Zoom meeting to discuss the concepts of educational psychology that very evening and for the 2 months that followed. At the end of that summer, we had an experimental pedagogy with which we taught ninth graders from socially backward communities. And it was super fun. Even in the lectures, there was such active interaction. We wanted to learn and teach. We wanted to learn the concepts. And it was really interactive.
Incredible, Vikram. Now, you've done all of this amazing work so far. Where do you plan to go from here?
This initiative of ours has evolved into an organization. We call it breach education because we're breaking social barriers through radical education. And we have got artistic directors, outreach directors, technical directors, the whole shebang. There are two dynamics to our organization. There is the scientific or executive dynamic, which I spoke about previously, actually tutoring students. And then there is the certain social dynamic. We taught students from socially backward communities. To enhance the effect of our work, we are partnering with organizations, governmental organizations, non-governmental organizations, educational institutions, educational organizations, and really trying to increase our presence.
Wow, Vikram, you've got your hands full really recently. What have you learned from all of this as running this educational organization?
The first thing I learned was leadership. Whenever faced with a decision about the future of our organization, my directors of outreach and my artistic directors, technical directors, they would advise me about the consequences of each action, and to measure and weigh those consequences really taught me to lead a group. The second thing I learned was empathy. Because our primary aim was to teach students from socially backward communities, I think we had to realize the fact that they would have a couple of jobs. My students would have a couple of jobs and family reservations too. And we had to be flexible both in our timings and our content. So that, in a very real sense, taught me to empathize with them. But my most important takeaway, I think, was family. I think over a period of 2 years, we became a really closely knit community. We'd go to the movies together, we'd play video games, GTA, Rockstar games. I don't even know half the time what we were playing. Then we would paint hand charts, we'd paint the walls, we'd do all these sorts of crazy things, and that just bound us together like family, I think.
That's amazing, Vikram. Well, it sounds like you're running a really awesome ship under your belts with a lot of amazing things happening in the world. Thank you so much for spending the time to come today and tell us about your project. I'm sure the audience enjoyed just as much as I did.
Thank you for having me, Jeff. It was a delight to be here.